They're so right. I told him he was real attached to him at first. Until we went on a walk. You know, we'd pass up nice. I can remember on a walk. Joe Morris's little cousin was carrying him and stuff, so it was like dragging everywhere. And I'm like, Joe, you're one of those sometimes. And she's like, yeah, so now I'm not as attached to getting tore up. He's like with his dad. You know, his mom is Jay Lawrence. He gives me unbelievable.
Or maybe it was the gym.
I believe she was pregnant. She was at one time. Yes.
Okay. She was with the, they called it the whole family was yes. That's why she was. I did not realize she was.
Right, so you figured you plastered that everywhere.
I did not realize she was on Mars. And you know, her sisters, he did 25 and under, but her sisters were killed the same day. And one was 27 and one was 29, so we did all of them. Just like, what do you say? Oh, we're just going to recognize one of your daughters. We're sorry the other ones got killed years later. Like, you know. So, all this heart.
It is.
Well, that'll work.
I wish we could put it like that. People having some. You think? But then it would, well, it could have just keep going.
Well, that's part of our common, is 9 acres.
What about the ones in the back that you really can't see?
No.
Can you
Handcuffs, 3 weeks. No.
Can you bring Mr. Barb's picture? You have Kinnear's picture? She's looking for
Had it reassessed.
Get my email. I've been wanting for the last week. I've been trying to remember to get them back, you know.
To do?
The next probably,
Should have done 15 years.
I think we're going to have some engineers come back out to go through the high school again next week. So I will try and get them to
we've reduced.
bring them along or drop them off for me. Is that all right?
Yeah, so you have them.
I don't, but I know where they are at the
They're with you.
Morris's office. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. missing somebody? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived and passed, apologies for our tardiness. I call to order this legislative meeting for the month of July 2018 for the Woodland Hills Board of School Directors. Ms. Pule, will you call the roll?
Mr. Graves?
Here.
Ms. Seligson?
Present.
Mr. Hanchett?
Here.
Ms. Johnson? Ms. Curry?
Here.
Dr. Hildebrand?
Here.
Ms. Strasbaugh?
Here.
Mr. Valmont?
Here.
Ms. Glasser?
Present. Note for the record that Ms. Johnson is out with a medical issue. We wish her a speedy recovery. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We should remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Terrell Boyer. Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the minutes from the legislative and agenda setting meetings for June?
So moved. Second.
Any amendments or discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously. We'll also need to accept the minutes for the special legislative meeting on July 2nd.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay. Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously. The board met in executive session this evening and also on July 10th and 11th to discuss personnel, legal, and security matters. Are there any announcements? Yes.
So I just want to convey my thanks to Ms. Lentz for organizing the restorative justice training that went on the last 2 days at Pitt through the School of Social Work, and to all the administrators and the teachers that showed up. There's it was a terrific turnout, and so hopefully that will help us along in the next school year. I learned a lot, so thank you.
Any other announcements? I know, Ms. Lentz, there was an event you wanted me to announce, and I'm not remembering it at the moment. Okay. I'll find that and make that announcement at the end of the meeting. I don't remember the details. I'll find that during the meeting and announce it at the end. Okay, apologies for that. We have no student speakers this month. Thank you. There are no presentations that I'm aware of this evening. Is that correct? Anybody here to present? Okay. That'll move us to registered speakers. Mr. Soderberg. Just a reminder, we welcome the public comment. I'm glad to have you here with us tonight. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Please give your name and address of residence at the beginning of your remarks, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. My name is Bob Soderberg. I live at 2210 Milligan in Swissville. I've been there lifelong resident. I know I just got an email back from you, Ms. Glasser. I got an email back. I sent an email to everybody, and nobody decided to email me back or make a comment to what I had to say. The thing is that what I want to do is the concession stands, well, 2 concession stands. First one, the little one against where the parking lot is. The parking lot's going to be, and the basketball court is going to be. That has been used by 2 different organizations. It wasn't built by the school. It was built by the girls' softball team, and and we would like to keep it. The football organization. Oh, let me get back to that. I'm the president of the new Swissville Braddock Midget Organization football program. We've been there for forever. We've been at Dixon forever. Let's see. We've been there forever, so I'm trying to. This 2-minute thing got me there. What do we want to do is try to save that building from being torn down. At the beginning of the year, or beginning of when all this stuff started, somebody told me that we were going up to the fence where the baseball game is. Sorry, I'm a fireman. And that's where they said. And then I found out a couple days ago after our community days, the Swissville community days, that everything was coming down. I don't mind the lights. I know the lights are bad. Okay, I know the lights are bad, and they were there when I was playing. All right, so that's how long I've been here. And what I want to do is try to save that if there's a possibility. So that's just one of the things I want to do, okay? I hope you take that into consideration because two organizations will use it, the girls softball and the Swissville football team, are just definitely for concessions. Concessions we use it for, that's how we raise the money, all right? We don't ask for any money off the school board. We don't ask any money off the borough. We do it all ourselves. I guess that's how. So that's how we raise our money. 90% of it comes from our concessions. And if we don't have the concession stand to use, I can't make any money. My second point in it is now, and I know why it is, because we're taking the lights down. You're taking the lights down. There is no electricity in the field itself. I can live with that. But I was talking to Bob Finney, and Bob Finney said that he won't be able to get it done until next year. Next year isn't going to cut it. And he offered me a generator, but meanwhile, that generator has to run 24 hours a day just to keep my the water, the pop, the concessions, the freezer, everything there. All right. I know they offered we are coming up to the Wolverine to play, but the same thing we have to do is we have to have a place to store this stuff. We cannot just walk in there and use the band. I think it's the band who runs the band. Runs a concession stand at the Wolverina.
It's the band and the football parents.
It's okay. I know they're from the other midget program in the district. They said that they have to carry everything in and carry everything back out, and I really don't like that happening. I mean, it's we're putting 8 to 10 hours in for the game day. That's counting setting up, tearing down, hauling it back in and putting it back. And if I don't have electricity, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. All right. So I do really need the electricity is what I'm really worried about. At least in the concession stand closer to the road. Okay. Not the little one. The other one that's the one we built. Well, we didn't build it. It was always there. I just put walls up and fixed the roof and everything else. And that was 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. So that's one of the reasons I want to know what's going on with that. I see they tore the lights down and the fence. They just pulled it down and left it laying there. So I had to cancel practice tonight. So after we canceled practice, that's why I showed up now because I was going to wait until the end. Because Rail, okay, never mind. Rail he played for me last year. All right, the kid that shot Terrell. I know. But he was supposed to be. There was supposed to be a vigil for him down at Memorial tonight. Canceled Sunday, so just in case. But after that, that's the first thing I would like you to investigate. When can I get some electricity in there down in the corner one? Right, both of them. I would like to have both of them. Yeah, it'd be just helpful. Right now, I got coolers in there with nothing in them, of course. But there's. I need the electricity. Second of all, well, okay, that's my main reason for being here. Second of all, Coach Tim, and Mr. Corsi, and Bob, was that we were all at a meeting with the other Woodland Hills team, and we were talking about, coming up to the Wolverine and play. For one, I don't really like it, but that's okay. I mean, we'll do the work, okay, if we get to play at it. And he says it's because of the kids nowadays, we should, since they're all going to go to Woodland Hills sooner or later, they have to get acclimated to it. All right. But we've been playing at Dixon forever, so that's okay. But what I'm griping is I got a letter. I put my application in, which I have here. I put my application in for all of my 5 home games. That's all I have is 5 home games. And I put them all in, and I got a letter back from the school or from Bob's office. I don't know. I can't remember who it was from, but stating that I have permission to play all 5 home games. Then I got an email from Bob. I mean, I don't want to get him in trouble. He's helping me a lot, and now I only got 2. So now I got to scurry around without the electricity to play at the Dixon Field. The other Woodland Hills team didn't get their application in fast enough or whatever, but they cried. And what I'm really worried about is this thing getting to be favoritism for the other Woodland Hills team, because their name is Woodland Hills. Ours isn't. Okay, but we did take the name of Wolverines, changed both names together. So what that's my second thing. And if I have to go play at Dixon, I need the electricity, and that generator is going to be on constantly because we have practice and we sell stuff at practice, and during the game it's definitely going to be there. So it's going to be 24/7 for that poor generator. All right, it's going to be an expense. Since Bob offered it, I'm going to take it. But it's something that I would like you guys to take care of, really, or take it in consideration. So let's go back to the favoritism thing. We're going back to the favoritism. You guys, what I was told by Coach Tim. All right, Coach Tim was the one that told me that, and Bob, that the school board is supposed to be taking days off of the other Woodland Hills team, and it hasn't been done yet. Our schedule, I already have our schedule put in, because they of our league that we're in. The league we're in, they already have the schedule, and I have to. It's probably not going to be a hard thing to change from the Wolverine or to here or to Dixon. Would be easy to do, but they would like to know. It's the other people, the other teams that would like to know where they're going, and it's not going to be the last minute. I really don't know what else I can keep rambling on. I really can. It's just that I still think I'm being played against for some reason. We're in the school district. 95%, let's go 85% of our kids are from the district. Okay. I'm going to say 90% of my coaches are from the district. They either live in Braddock, North Braddock, or Swissville, or Rankin. So, we're in the district. We're not, coming in just to use the field. Okay. So, I mean, that's my short end of the deal. But like I said, I could keep going if you want me to.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Okay. Is there a time frame that I can have somebody get back to me?
We'll follow up with you after the meeting.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you. Okay. That'll move us to board matters. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you would.
So this is from Senior Pastor Christopher Conti from the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Rankin. And he is coordinating a back-to-school worship service to be hosted by his church on Sunday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And he wanted that to be announced. And he also wanted to let everyone know that they'll be doing their 30 days of prayer for the school district, which will be a 15-minute prayer call between 6 and 6:15 every day of the month at their church. So he wanted to invite everyone, since August 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Rankin.
Very good. Okay. All right. That'll move us to board matters. Okay. Mr. Gigliotti?
You want me to read it as I know it now?
If you would.
Okay.
Request approval of the appointment of Dr. Bart Rocco as interim superintendent at the rate of $600 per day.
And that will be effective August 1st.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions or discussion? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Request approval of second and final reading of new policy 214, homeless students.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions or discussion on the policy? Okay, seeing none, call the vote. Okay. Motion carries unanimously.
2.3, request approval of second and final reading of policy 707, facilities usage.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on this?
Yeah, can I get clarification on one thing?
Yeah.
At least one thing. So it's an email that you would send around asking about groups that are requesting to use the facilities. My understanding is that if a PTO has a movie night and charges $1 to get in, they are then subjected to the custodial fees. Is that true?
They're always going to be subjected to the custodial fees. They would now be subjected to a rental fee because they're charging admission.
All right, so a PTO that might make $50 on an event is going to have to then pay custodial fees or the rental fees for the gym at the building.
That's basically the way it's always been, because the fee schedule hasn't changed. So, if you wish to discuss it further, this doesn't have to be the final reading.
Because the other, and I have a problem. The other one I have a problem with is organizations like the football club. And I may have to, I don't know if I have to recuse myself from voting or abstain from voting since I'm involved with a soccer club that uses a lot of the facilities. If you charge us $10 a day, $10 for every time we go to reserve a field. If we reserve a field 5 days a week for 3 months, that's a huge cost that has to then get transferred to the families that are playing those sports. Right? And a lot of those organizations can't afford that fee for every day that they're reserving. And I understand why we're doing it, so organizations don't reserve space willy-nilly. Right? First time I used willy-nilly at a school board meeting. And I'll try to avoid that because it's silly. So, I have a problem with that sort of fee structure a little bit.
The $10 reservation fee is non-refundable, but it will be credited towards any final rental costs, either the custodial fee or.
And I believe I believe you only lose it if you don't show.
I thought that was.
But there are cases where, so for instance, if you're using the soccer field or Wilkins Field, I'm not sure about Dixon Field, there are no custodial fees, technically, or a rental fee. Right? So if you reserve it for 50 days, you're paying $500, and you're not. That's it for basically for the right to ask to have the field reserved for you. Right, and some organizations will. I don't know how much the football organization uses Dixon, what they charge for that, but that would be every time you reserve it for any day, it's $10.
The way it reads now, it doesn't say it would be refunded at the
No,
end.
no, I
Right.
said
If you don't
it
use
wouldn't be
it-
refunded.
It wouldn't be refunded.
If
no.
you don't
Yeah,
use it,
it's
it wouldn't
not.
be refunded.
The only way he gets
I said
refunded
if
is
you
if there was a
don't.
cancellation and you gave us enough notice.
Right.
Right.
Right. I thought
I
I
didn't say it
remembered
was-
something from our discussion of this last time about still that money eventually coming back to the organization in some way.
So it
I don't
is.
remember
So
what it
if
was,
you,
though.
that $10 reservation fee, right, is so. If you use a facility, you have say $500 in custodial fees or whatever, and you get the bill for that. That registration fee comes off of that, right? If you don't have that, you still end up paying $500, whatever it is, the number of days that you use the field, right? So you're going to end up paying that anyway. If that makes any sense.
So what's the issue that you have with it?
It's unclear to me how many we just heard about an organization that has to sell stuff in order to afford to run, right? You're now adding however many days are reserving that field times 10.
But if you remember, the original policy was set up because
because people were
we have-
reserving way too many things
we
that they were
have to-
using.
well, way too many people are using it, and they were overbooking,
Right.
just in case they had something. But then we also had employees who had to be scheduled for the custodial aspect.
Yeah.
So we were losing money as a district, even if they don't show up.
Yeah, no,
So that was more. So that's why we implemented the policy that if they show up and play, then that money that the deposit will be credited towards that activity. If they don't show up, then they forfeit that because we still got to pay for a custodian.
And we did add a clause in here also that if the organization if there's a setup, if the custodian shows up and does setup and they don't show, we're billing for the custodian.
But as long
I mean,
as they give
if
proper
they give
notice,
proper notice that they're not
they
going to
get
be there,
paid back.
then we don't have to call the person out. And but if the person was called out, they're at least facing a 2-hour minimum per the support contract.
So I'm assuming. So technically, your issue is only really with the booking of the facility. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Like future booking of the facility. Because once you use it, it tends to be a wash.
Yes, I agree. That assuming there are things that have custodial and rental fees and custodial fees associated, some of them don't, and so it's just a straight fee for being able to reserve the field.
Right. I think we had this issue when we were discussing it,
Yeah, no, we did.
and it really came back to the fact that
We got to recoup losses. Take care. Yeah,
we want to at least pay for the employees we have to have present.
Yes.
But also, we want to have our buildings available to as many people as possible.
Right. No, I
that
understand the dilemma.
needs the access to it, and sometimes clubs just book everything, and then no one can use it. So I guess that's still difficult.
Yeah.
Give me an answer.
Well, I guess the other thing I have, and this is a conversation I had with my wife because we're booking things for the band organizations. We need to let organizations know what the fee structure is somewhere clearly on the website or whatever. So because you don't want organizations getting surprised. It's a surprise, here's your bill for $400 that you didn't expect to get, and you never got 3 years. The last 10 years you've been using the facilities, right? So we need to make sure that that's out there somewhere posted clearly.
Yeah.
Assuming
Well, I also, I understand, so us as a school district, we need, and people's taxes do pay for the use of that facility. But on the other side of that, it's not bad. So if a sock organization gets to come and use that field for $10.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And they all are taxpayers, and somewhere, our money goes to that. But at the end of the day, and I understand this, it is a cost for the organization. But it still is. It's a really nice soccer field. So same thing for people who reserve the Wolverine. It's a really nice thing, and so we have, I don't know. How do we do it? We have to charge something.
Yep. I get it.
I know the issue, so I know we had stuff when we gave away stuff for free.
And most of this is just to make sure everybody listening has an idea that they're going to be starting to get charged. When they go on there and click all those boxes on the online registration thing.
Yeah. Are we prepared to vote on this tonight? Or are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to. hashed it around a couple times.
We have. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries 7-1.
Curriculum 3.1, permission to accept award amount for pre-K counts funding for the 2018-2019 school year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any comments or discussion on this?
Yeah, I just had a question regarding to where this. So some of them are going to be here. Is that true through Heritage, and some are going to be at our schools, or?
Mr. Clausen, who can speak to that?
This was a grant application we did in cooperation with Heritage. So they're sort of a sub-grantee for us. I believe they are not going to use this location here for some of their classrooms, but the location nearby where they already have some classrooms, but they are rotating some of their classrooms from there here to make that space. They already have some pre-K counts classrooms in that other building, so they're going to, is their plan, I believe.
Okay, so of those 70, was it 72 slots?
36. They get 36, we get 36.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I thought I'd read that somewhere, and I couldn't remember where I read that.
So we'll be maintaining our classroom at Edgewood and adding one to Wilkins.
And the funding will be split 50-50.
We're the pass-through agent for their funds.
Each classroom will get $153,000.
Great. Congratulations.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for the work on that.
Thank you, but it really is, we have a wonderful pre-K counts teacher in Rachel Reithman at Edgewood who's really given us a first-class program. And we had a number of people working on that application with us, including Jen Damico at the high school. A lot of credit.
Sure.
Well, relay that too, then.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries unanimously. That will move us to people personnel.
5.1, request approval of the communities and schools Pittsburgh at Woodland Hills Intermediate School and Woodland Hills Junior Senior High School for the 2018-19 school year at a total cost of $135,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions or discussion?
And this is what we budgeted, right?
Well, that is the question.
That's going to spill over, and we're going to have to pull it out of budgetary reserve.
Okay.
No.
Is this two people?
This is two people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Ms. Golden,
$92,000 available, so $43,000 will be coming out of budgetary reserve.
Can you speak to where we are with this in terms of budget?
Sure. I've had communication with Bridget Clement from Communities and Schools. And I explained to her the dilemma that we're in as a district. She said that for the $92,000, which was what was originally communicated, that would be one staff person and consultation services. And those consultation services are needed for the Provider Council and the School Justice Partnership. So if we go with what was originally budgeted or we assumed was budgeted, it would be one person, and we would just have to decide where that person would be.
Okay.
And that there wasn't enough within that specific figure for a half-time person.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. What's the thoughts, discussion?
My thought is we're pretty pressed for money. And although I do very much appreciate their work, and I think it's awesome and wonderful, I think we should stick to that original number, and perhaps, at a later time, if we can afford it, go to this. But I'm not comfortable with the 135.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to make a comment on that?
I agree. We stick to what we budgeted.
Okay.
I agree with that too. My question is, if we do that, are we going to take the one out of intermediate and send them to the high school, or just keep the one in intermediate?
That's a question for which I'd look for recommendation from administration myself. I don't. Okay. I mean, I think is that something we can decide later, Ms. Golden?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have to decide that at the table tonight. We can talk about that and get advice from CIS as well. Yes. Okay. Super.
So can we amend it?
We sure can. Is there a motion to amend?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Seligson to amend the tab to reflect a figure of $92,000. Is that my understanding? Okay. Mr. Hanchett, Dr. Hildebrand, are you amenable to that as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then we will vote on the tab as amended. Ms. Pugh? There's the vote.
I'm sorry. We're voting on the amendment, correct?
It says friendly amendments. We vote on the tab as amended to reflect $92,000 as the. So can we do that electronically? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good.
I'm sorry, because I already voted.
Okay.
I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I'm.
We're voting for the
I have no.
Motion carries unanimously as amended. Okay, so that will move us on.
Okay. 5.2, request approval of the Pennsylvania Family Support Alliance Train the Trainer program for the next 3 years. Cost per trainer for the next 3 years is $1,000. So the total cost for a 3-year would be $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this one?
I don't recall seeing. This isn't a new contract, or is this?
Ms. Golden.
Have we had this contract before, and this is the first time I've seen it?
Is this the one that Jen Rogers? Oh, that's the master teacher down there. Yeah.
This is a one that's a renewal, and it's 3 years. It's a 3-year renewal, and it's for our social workers to provide the training for our district on the child abuse and
so
mandatory.
You've already been doing it for 3 years?
Yes, they've done it, and just the cycle, what we pay is every 3 years.
Okay, that's why.
Any other questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
5.3, request approval for the certified registered nurse practitioner contract for physician-based services for the 2018-2019 school year at a cost not to exceed $7,500.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this contract? Okay, seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
5.4, request approval of the master teacher contract for professional development for the 2018-19 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this?
What sort of things does this cover? I mean, I'm just curious what sort of courses we're looking at for our paraprofessional training and things. I said you should have just stayed up here.
I don't know much about the program. Jen Rogers does a lot with the paraprofessionals in this program. However, I know that it provides training that's specific to what they do with our students. So I can send a message to her to get more specific information about the specific training modules that are in there.
If you look under the public content, I don't know if you read down that far, there is a list of things that it allows, self-paced courses with interactive videos, evaluations at the end of each course are automatically graded, and then they would, it's to get their, what is it, 20 hours?
They have to have
20
hours of professional development.
And this is one of the aids that we use to train the paras.
Yeah, okay.
On their website, it lists a bunch of courses supporting instruction, reading skills, writing skills, mathematical skills, instructional support. Health and first aid.
All right.
So they get to choose. They have 130 choices, basically, as long as they get the hours.
Okay.
That was a question.
Yeah.
On the first line on the flyer, it's 130 self-paced courses. So they're getting the option to choose basically whatever they want out of the 130. Yes. Okay.
I mean, there are some that she specifies that they take as part of those courses, but then there are others that they have the option to choose from.
And this is a resource we used before?
Yes. Yes, we've used this.
We've had in place for,
so this is a renewal.
This is a renewal.
Yeah, this is a renewal as well.
Okay.
How do I want to phrase this? So my concern is, I know just what I vaguely understand about paras is that we can use them pretty much in any capacity that we need. They're not technically specific to areas unless they bid into a particular. We can kind of move them about. So one day one could be a secretary, one can be, in a classroom.
I believe the secretaries are separate from paras.
The secretaries, they're in the same class but separate.
They're used to cover lunches if necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have subs, though. The subs are contracted separately, right? Okay. So my question is really, my concern is about making sure if we're dealing with specific rooms like special needs, that those aides are definitely getting those special need courses. Mm-hmm. So is there a way, since Jen's not here, but is there a way to ensure that, like emotional support room, to make sure they're getting as much as that type of training versus kind of self-picking? I don't think that was ever explained.
How is that determined, Ms. Golden? Do you know?
I do not. However, I'm more than willing to get answers to all of your questions from her, because she's the one that deals with this program and the paras. So I can get you any information that you need regarding the program.
If there are 130 that she does
ensure
that they do take
I know she picks
training.
specific ones, that I do know.
Okay. That's just my concern, so that would be good.
Okay. Anything else before Ms. Golden goes away? It's a good plan. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
955, request approval of the Waken Pittsburgh proposal outlined to provide ongoing mindfulness-based social and emotional regulation practices to teachers and administrators of Woodland Hills School District. Total cost is $15,850 for the 2018-19 school year, with funding from the General Fund 10. This is part of the recommendation of the Commission, and these are budgeted.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions or discussion on this proposal? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Move to personnel, section 6.1, request approval of section G, authorization for miscellaneous.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any discussion of this would require executive session. Any need to go into executive? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously. I believe I see Ms. Keeler in the back of the room. Congratulations to you. The tab included an appointment of Ms. Keeler to be our new data coordinator, student data, and all the fun that would entail. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I've had quite an awesome run at the high school, but I'm looking forward to new challenges and working in the office up here for our data quality. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Item 6.2, request the appointment of Terrence Smith as Rankin Assistant Principal.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Hanchett. Again, this would be an executive session discussion. Any need for that? Okay, seeing none. Just a note that since this is on the tab as well, it is his existing salary.
Existing salary,
Correct.
that's why I didn't read it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Very good. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we'll move down to food service, transportation, and safety. Item 9.1, request permission to approve the MOU with Adagio Health for the Power Up Eat Right Nutrition Education Program at no cost to the district.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions or discussion of this program?
Included is a review of what they have done in the past.
Okay. Very good. All right. Seeing no discussion or questions, we'll call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on to buildings and grounds, item 10.1, requesting approval for the use of facilities by outside organizations for the 2018-19 school year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on facilities use?
Yeah, the event by the Alpha Kappa Alpha Society, there's already an event booked at that day and that time at the high school soccer field. August 4th.
Oh, come on out.
There's nothing on the calendar.
Yeah, there is. There's a walk. There's an organization that's having a walk at the track that day. At least when I looked, I don't know, 2 days ago.
Well, I'm gonna have to review that when I get back to the office tomorrow.
Okay. So,
It'll be pending calendar conflict.
can we make it pending the resolution of the conflict? Is that amenable?
Okay with that.
Yeah.
Is that amenable?
I still feel like we need a running calendar of what events that have been booked. And as we go into our meetings, we're adding to that calendar, but we can also see what conflicts there possibly could be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, some of it's hard for us to remember what's scheduled unless we're part of that organization that knows, or, we know our dates.
Yeah, I mean, well, so just, for example, so we're just looking at this and just, seeing lots of East Catholic Soccer, we're approving for something happens March through June of next year. Like, I'm going to remember that.
Right.
And this comes back to my previous thing. Apparently they're booking it for every day. So if you add up all the days, multiply that by $10. I'm sure East Catholic is not aware of that. That they're going to be paying that fee.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's exactly why we should be a lot more organized on who's using what and when. Because there's obviously conflicts in the schedule, and that just causes bad planning for other organizations.
Is there a way, Mr. Finney, that we can use School Dude to help us with this and look at what has been approved? Why don't you come to the podium?
I mean, you could look at School Dude. When we're looking at the calendar, we can look at School Dude and look. I mean, that's how I realized that there was a conflict that day.
Well, right, but even for folks that are looking at the tab who may not be, who might just be, in the public. So it would be helpful if we could have this presented as a calendar, perhaps, that we could look at, the next 6 months or 12 months in the calendar form, so we could see what has been approved previously and what we're approving this month.
I can set you up for each board member to have access to the school calendar access, so you're able to visually see it.
Okay.
But
but that doesn't help the public who's looking to see what's being approved.
The public can look at it.
Yeah.
I can go onto the website, pull up the School Do calendar through buildings and grounds, and look at every school and every facility within that school to see what's been booked at a given site.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's something going on, because we already had a gentleman discuss the conflict for the Wolverine, and then now we're about to vote on top of 2 dates that you recognize. So where's it? I never use this, so I don't know.
Right. So I've gone on and used it, and so if I want to book my days, and I say, okay, I want Wednesday, whatever, and I hit submit, it tells me if it's already booked.
So how do we get this?
Because I'm guessing you're getting paper versions of this still, right?
So when you put the information in, it will initially tell you that it will give you a red flag if there's something on the calendar. So I need to look at it, because when I looked at it last week, there was nothing on that date when my secretary was assisting with me putting that in the system. If I asked her to put it in the system, and it went straight through. It will not let you put it in. It will give you a red flag and freeze you not to let it go through.
What the calendar doesn't show, though, is what has been requested but not approved yet.
Right.
Correct. It holds it in an envelope until tonight. Now tomorrow I'll come in and I will approve everything our board approves.
Right.
It holds it in place.
So what I'm wondering is if we can't have this presented to us when we're looking to approve it, to see what else is on the calendar somehow. Maybe that doesn't work, maybe that's not possible, but that would maybe be a little more logical. We can also just cross-reference like Jeff is suggesting.
And Ms. Strasbaugh just pointed out that the request on the August 4th is for the stadium, whereas these other people, the group this time requested the soccer field itself. Right, so it could be just the
Yeah.
because you can't really request the stadium. I think they're having a walk for whatever cause, so they're probably using the track and the field for whatever activities are going on during their walk. So that's probably going to be a conflict between those two groups, unless someone's just using the stands to sit there, which I doubt.
Okay.
Right. So
how are we going to move forward with this?
We can approve this pending resolution of the conflict.
I'll reach out to Alpha tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And then I will keep on a loop on that.
Okay. Is that amenable?
I still don't know. I don't get how it gets this far and there's a conflict, but it didn't.
Right.
It didn't do what you said it did, as in it wouldn't let you submit it. That's why I don't understand that part. Because obviously somebody submitted it on 2 different days for 2 different events for that same location.
It's still under.
And it's still in there. That's what
But I guess if someone requested can you request the track?
I was just getting ready to say that. So, for instance, if I fill out an application to use the track on the 4th,
yeah, we got to make it
go straight in. And then if I would request to use the soccer field, it will go straight in. It shows you a different calendar for the soccer, and it shows you a different calendar for the track.
So we've got to probably using both.
Yeah.
We've got to unify that.
Yeah. We're gonna.
Yeah. It's got to be one.
Yep.
Okay.
There's the
That's
extra
it.
right there.
Okay.
Teamwork. Good job, guys.
Yeah, but see, it took how many person for it?
Okay, so are we okay with approving this tab pending this resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and unless there's any further discussion. Anybody find any other conflicts?
Way too much time.
Okay. We will go ahead and take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.2, request approval to upgrade our Ansel system to an R102 UL300 wet chemical fire suppression system for a total cost of $2,700 from the Food Service Fund 50.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this? Okay. Seeing none? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.3, request approval to have ServPro do restoration at Edgewood at a cost of $5,395.66 from the Capital Reserve Fund 32.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this?
So, what happened? Did I forget? Maybe I missed this. What happened here?
So we had mold issues when I first got hired here. YMCA was in B13 when I first came here, so automatically shut that classroom down, and we had to relocate. After that, we left it alone because I had 50 other things coming on in my first month here. But within the last 5-6 years, following up with the principal and talking to the custodians, the 5 areas on that lower floor has been damaged for the last 5-6 years. So we have rain conductors, which are your drains from the roof going down 6-7 feet underground. They're all cracked and broke. So that is what caused the mold in those 5 areas. So once I get the rain conductors fixed, then Serpro will come in and disinfect and clean those areas.
Okay, so that explains then board tab 1016.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. It's all coming together.
All right, any additional questions on this one? Okay. Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries.
Item 10.4, request permission to do preventative maintenance for district turf fields at a cost of $4,000 from the General Fund 10.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hinchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this?
So, I mean, it's like a total cost, or it's just like up to $4,000, or?
It's a total cost for the softball field, baseball field, and for the Wolver Arena. And it also gets a GMAX test, which is they test different sections of the field where it's heavily used for head concussions and stuff of that nature, because it's a good report to have for the school district if somebody would have a head concussion. So that's added into that cost, which at GMAX is actually free. So, and it's good for us to have if there was a head concussion or an injury on our turf fields.
Okay. Let's hope there's nothing to fix in the football field.
Hey, Bob. I see this should be done on an annual basis. Does this add to the longevity of the turf, the lifetime of the turf?
Well, it does, because if there's any rips, tears, they seam, they stitch it up, and they put the rubber pallets in place where the bare spots are. The soccer field's already done. I actually have a diagram of where all the worn areas were, what was repaired, and that stuff is kept in our folders. Again, just in case anything happens to any one of our students or anybody using anyone using the fields.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So,
Go ahead.
So you mentioned the pellets. So if when we're using the field, and I know that the rocks get kicked up a lot, once those rocks or pellets get moved, that's compromising the longevity of the turf?
It can if you don't maintain it, which our custodians maintain it when it needs to be filled in.
Okay.
But we're supposed to have it done on a yearly basis, which is typically in July at the end of the school year before school's back in session, to have it, groomed, repaired, and then, of course, the GMAX test is very, very important as well.
Okay, and if that's not done, that kind of causes like some of those dips
Yes,
when
it
you're
can.
running the.
Yes.
I know, okay. All right,
And you'll notice, like at the soccer in the center of the soccer field, it does have a little divot, and it's because it's wearing out. So we probably have about 2 more years life of turf field.
And that's also another part of this. They will assess the condition of the field and like whether it needs to be replaced and everything. Because I know we've had that soccer field that turf, I think, for quite a few years. It's gonna need to be replaced.
Some spots
before.
that are like
Yeah, it's going to need to be replaced before long.
It was put in when the Wolverine was put in
Right.
originally, I think. Not originally, since the last time.
Yeah.
Any additional questions on this? Okay, seeing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.5, request approval to purchase 5 BTU heat pump with electric and 5 power cord 230 volt 20 amp units from Train for Edgewood at a cost of $3,925 from the Capital Reserve Fund 32. This is for the the newest part of the building where central registration used to be. Some of the heating and unit ventilators need replaced. They don't function, and it'll be an occupied space now.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Curry. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, take the vote.
Votes unanimous. Item 10.6. We are moving into the Dixon Intermediate School project. Request approval of Amendment 2 to the Guaranteed Energy Savings Agreement from Reynolds Energy Services for the Dixon Intermediate project at a total cost not to exceed $4,241,302, pending receipt and approve of an approved form of the agreement properly reviewed and approved by the district solicitor from Capital Project Fund 39. This is the GIZA, the Guaranteed Energy Savings for Dixon.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Hanchett. Any questions on this?
I have one. Rob, I see the top of your forehead by the podium. If you wouldn't mind, please elaborating on this, highlighting what you think would be pertinent and what the public would be interested in knowing.
So in this case, for the Dixon project, the GISA contract takes the place of the traditional mechanical bid. So under this contract, we'll be installing all of the HVAC systems for the project, as well as the building level controls. One of the big benefits of this contracting approach is that we have very high quality contractors. You're not stuck with selecting, from the bottom of the barrel low bid contractors. Also, there are no change orders on this. So this $4,241,000 contract, there's no change orders on that. We cannot come back to the district and request additional funds for any missed scope.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, take the vote.
The motion is approved unanimously. Item 10.7, request acceptance of the bid from Nello Construction Company for the base bid less alternate 1 for a total of $12,571,000 for the Dixon Intermediate School project for general construction, with funding coming from Capital Projects Fund 39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none. Take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.8, request acceptance of the bid from Commercial Appliance Contracts for the base bid totaling $541,966 for the Dixon Intermediate School project for food service equipment, with funding coming from Capital Projects Fund 39.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this? Okay. Seeing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.9, request acceptance of the bid from Northeast Interior Systems for the base bid totaling $388,000 for the Dixon Intermediate School project for casework construction with funding coming from Capital Projects Fund 39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions or concerns about this? Okay. Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.10, request acceptance of the bid from Shipley Brother Plumbing Incorporated for the base bid totaling $1,930,000 for the Dixon Intermediate School project for plumbing construction with funding coming from Capital Projects Fund 39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Catch up with you again. I had to go change something. Okay. Item 10.11, request acceptance of the bid from Pitt Electric Incorporated for the base bid less alternate 11 totaling $2,062,005 for the Dixon Intermediate School project for electric construction with funding coming from Capital Project Fund 39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
10.12, request approval of civil and environmental consultants for the testing and special inspections of the Dixon Intermediate School project at a total cost of $48,500 from Capital Project Fund 39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Hanchett. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.13, request approval of Mazer Consultants for engineering services in relation to the junior senior high school project, pending solicitor review and approval of the AIA agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
We just went through all our Dixon stuff, and we're starting to go with the high school stuff. Are we going to talk about some of our goal planning for?
We certainly can. Yeah.
It was brought up within committee that some of this construction should incorporate minority contractors. I think at board level, it's hard to ask our teachers, our staff, our administrators to think about equity when we on a board level aren't leading that charge. So I think this is a great way for us to lead the charge by making sure we're going over around $90-something million in remodeling, that we don't include minority contractors within that. So as a district, we like to have create goals for our construction teams to try to incorporate a certain percent of minority contractors within some of the remodeling throughout the district.
So we'll be doing that formally as we go forward, but we do want to mention that tonight as part of the conversation. So, yeah, it's a great time to raise that. So, anything else with regard to this tab? Okay. Seeing nothing, we'll move to the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.14, request approval to replace the carpet at Rankin School in classroom 106 at a cost of $2,368.14 from General Fund 10.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions or discussion of this item? Okay, seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.15, request approval to replace the carpet in Wilkins Nurse at the Wilkins Nurse area with linoleum at a cost of $6,399.14 from Capital Reserve Fund 32.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions or discussion on this tab?
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture how that looks. So it's the linoleum would be in her back area,
In the whole suite.
or so we're getting rid of the carpet here and just putting linoleum in the whole.
Through the whole thing, even her office as well.
Okay. Okay.
The only thing, there's a spare room off to the left. It will stay carpet. But it's just a storage area. So there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10.16, request permission to relocate 9 rain conductors at Edgewood Elementary for a total cost not to exceed $18,877 to the lowest vendor quote with funding from Capital Reserve Fund 32.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
We'll move to legal matters. Item 11.1, request permission to approve student adjudication number 12.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any discussion of this would have to go into executive session. Any need to call a session? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
We'll move to school finance. Item 12.1, request ratification of the bill list for invoices paid after the June 20, 2018 legislative meeting.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions or discussion? Okay. Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 12.2, request approval of the July 2018 bill list.
Is there a motion? Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on the bill list? Okay, seeing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 12.3, request approval of the June 2018 fund reports and the student activity reports for informational purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 12.4, request approval of the investment reports for June 2018.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 12.5, request approval of the 2018-19 interscholastic athletic accident insurance and K through 12 voluntary student accident insurance through the Denon and Parkins Associates Incorporated. The interscholastic athletic policy is a cost of $9,550 from the general fund. The K-12 voluntary accident is if the parents so desire to purchase that on their child. I think it's $30 and $90. 24-hour coverage is $90. School time is $22.50.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this?
So I just see in this thing, it does say sports. Just do we have other insurance that cover like other people that do that are not sports related, like for our students for like.
This is in addition where we have our liability policy in place.
Okay, yeah, because
this is strictly for
like
our
people in
student
the band,
activities.
I don't know if they consider that a sport if somebody gets hurt or if somebody falls off the stage in practice or something. So we're all covered for all that stuff.
If they were injured because of
school function,
they're covered. There is no coverage for athletic. This helps the parents out. I think there's a $100 deductible on it, and then they basically would cover a lot of the expenditures. So we're providing additional coverage for the student athletes. And I think the district has been doing this since its inception. I forget what he has in his letter here.
Any other questions?
How many?
Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, how many parents take advantage of the voluntary student insurance? I mean, it's a nice service to offer. I'm just curious if family does it.
I don't have those numbers. I'll have to get them for you.
I mean,
not many, probably.
I was going to say, you know, you have to take your shoes off to count them, I guess.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, take the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Move on to the Assistant Superintendent's area. 13.1 is a correction. Permission to approve Seeds to Fruit motivational speaker at a total cost of $1,800 from General Fund 10.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Hanchett. Any questions or discussion?
And this is motivational speaking for what? For
Ms. Lenz?
So this is Mr. Carlos Carter, and his company is called Seeds to Fruition. He's a motivational speaker. He's going to do two things for us. He's going to speak to the entire staff on opening day, about 45 minutes or so, and his whole goal is to have people remember their passion and their purpose. And I think with, the recent tragedies and what's happened in a school year, it affects the entire district. So we want to kind of get our staff to remember their passion and their purpose. Just a reminder of why they got in and do the work that they do. And then he's also going to be doing an hour and a half to 2 hour session with our administrators to dig a little deeper and to remind. So it would be all of the principals, assistant principals, and central office staff to remind us about our passion and our purpose. I had sent videos, links of his things, and he comes highly recommended. He has a background in social work, homeless liaison, so he has a lot of experiences and is ready to and very excited to hopefully be working.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, take the vote.
I have a question.
But why is it?
There's two different prices.
One says 18, one says 1,000.
Oh, did I not get the? It's 18. Did I miss one of the?
Yeah, I was like,
It's corrected that.
Yeah. So,
what did the tab say?
The original tab said 1,000. But yeah. So that's what I changed before.
motion carries unanimously.
Item 13.2, request permission to accept the EDR job descriptions booklet.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Strasbaugh, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions on this?
So is this the product of Mr. Crone and his merry band of men and women?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is not going to have any impact on our current bargaining agreement, right? So this is just sort of just descriptions, nothing. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, call a vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 13.3, request permission to establish a student activity fund for international studies at the Woodland Hills Junior Senior High School.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hanchett, second by Ms. Strasbaugh. Any questions on this?
Yeah, didn't we have a question about another student activity group that you can't have a faculty member sign off as who it's being submitted by? So right now, Ms. Tansky is the person who's being submitted by, and all that other stuff. But that had to be an actual student person.
Looks like they're not coach, but like a.
Yeah, she's the
overseer.
sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with the organization itself. I just want to make sure we're being consistent between student groups as we're approving them.
I remember I was talking about that.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what group would act.
It was cross-country, I believe.
It was cross-country, yes.
I believe. There is a list of student officers attached. Does that suffice, Mr. Gigliotti?
Oops. Yes. You have students there in an organization.
So do we need to have this revised to reflect that the students are requesting the club in the activity fund, or is there enough with the membership list, the officers, and the attached that it is? Is that satisfactory?
Because I do not remember seeing that little chart in the last one that was turned in. So. I have stymied this.
If you're comfortable with the prospective sponsor to sign off on,
Well, the students have to sign off, right?
the students will sign off ultimately on fundraising, deposits, disbursements. They have to vote on it. They're going to be voting on it. They will control the funds with supervision.
Okay.
So will her name always have to be there, or no? That's, I guess, the confusion.
What, on this form?
Just moving forward, I guess, with any disbursements or...
As sponsor, she will. What you end up with is the membership takes the vote. Whoever they designate, if it's the treasurer, the president, vice president, they'll initial the disbursement request along with the high school principal and the sponsor. The sponsor will be on there too. So it'll be 3 signatures before it gets to me. Yeah.
And it does specify that the student officers will sign off.
Yeah.
In the description of it, so.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to make sure everybody's good.
I imagine for this also, what it looks like with that is, because it looks like the students, they're going to be changing all the time, so as they come through graduate. So having to retrain everybody where if you have the...
Well, that would be the sponsor's responsibility to
she'll make sure
bring them together, make sure they stay structured.
Keep on going. Yeah, keep it going. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Call the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. With nothing under the superintendent section, that will move us to old business. Is there any old business? Any new business? Okay. That'll move us to committee reports. Mr. Graves, Finance.
For the most part, we just worked on the budget.
There you go.
Several meetings on the budget.
There you go.
Down to the wire about the budget.
Okay. On the technology front, we had several updates last month, including the work that will be done over the summer with updates to all of our PCs, Chromebooks, etc. We're continuing to transfer to Power School. That seems to be going pretty well, as I understand it. Working with all the parties involved in that to integrate those. Moving to integrate the phones into the Edgewood PA system. That's already been done at a couple of schools, so Edgewood will follow along. And we are working to prepare for the wireless and network switching project to begin. So we'll do that. Ms. Seligson, Special Education.
Okay, so on June 21st, the PA, Department of Education, accepted our special ed plan. Implementation of the plan will start July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021, so we don't have to do it again until then. ESY began. We have 118 students enrolled and that are participating. It's at the Academy this year, and that is from July 9th through August 3rd. And I think it's gone really well. It's really nicely structured, and I think the kids are having a good time.
Good. Okay. Mr. Hanchett, athletics.
Okay, just so in this event or meeting there, I was not at, but it looks like they talked about the UPMC sponsorship, full-time athletic trainer for the high school. The Western PA, there's a football showcase August 24th and 25th at the Wolverine. I believe there's 6 teams coming in from 6 different football teams from outside the area, playing 6 local football teams from the area. Corporate sponsor has agreed to sponsor our first ever Stand Against Violence basketball showcase during MLK weekend in 2019. And the athletic department is partnering with Greater Valley Community Services and Planet Seed to facilitate it. Well, this is already done. A peace walk from Swissville to Turtle Creek back in June, the end of June, Saturday, June 30th.
Okay. All right. And there is no report from the policy committee, but I know with Ms. Strasbaugh's indulgence, Mr. Belmont had a couple of things he wanted to talk about related to policy. So,
Thanks, Paige. You guys will find at your place, what I want to bring up for discussion is uniforms that are 9 through 12. Looking at our cell phone policy, we're doing the best we can there, and what can we do about foul language in our hallways? So starting with dress code for the 9th through 12th graders, and Alicia, you're more than welcome to come on up to the podium if we have questions for you. What I'd like to see is a uniform policy for our freshmen through 12th graders. I think that with Dr. Woods coming in and other changes going on, I think this would give us a visual enhancement of the changes that are coming, that we want to do, that we want to get right. As I researched the benefits to uniforms, just checking out what goes on across the country when schools have done this and the advantages they've seen to it, seen it's come from this. There was, I counted about 19. Everything from kids don't have to worry about status, bullying gets reduced, fighting gets reduced. I had emailed all you guys that entire list, but I feel strongly about it. I know we've discussed this in committee meetings, where some of us can make it, some of us can't because of schedules. I understand that. But I felt in this setting with all of us here to be a fair time to have a discussion about these 3 items, because starting this next school year next month, personally, and I know you guys too, we want to get every single thing right.
Amen.
Everything right. And I think this is a good start. It would tell the world that we're, as we always have been, we've been serious about the best education for our children. But I think this sends a visible message. So I'm welcome to any comments about uniforms.
Does anyone have anything to add?
I'll go first, I guess. I think we're on the right track with that. But I guess one concern would be getting the input from our families. So I think we're going to have to take the time to hear what they think. You know, we did implement as of this year that our 7th and 8th graders will be wearing our uniforms, and we actually added some colors, which is exciting. But I think, again, the input is what is really, really important before we go ahead and make that decision. I don't necessarily disagree. I think I personally like uniforms. My kids don't. I have an artist at home, so, but again, kind of to echo what you're saying, it might be a great visual to start fresh and to kind of have us all together and focused.
Alicia, you put out some surveys. Why don't you share with the board and the audience what those results were?
Yeah, we had surveys. Overwhelming response was definitely the uniforms in the 7th and 8th grade. For the 9th through 12, there were a couple of options that the survey had, and I believe a lot of people did take it. We had over 1,200 responses. We also did a separate one for the teachers. But it was, one of the questions was a strict dress code in 9 through 12, and, people were saying no, and yes, it was split. For me, I believe our dress code 9 through 12 is somewhat strict. It's not a uniform, but there are what's allowed, what's not allowed. It's just the enforcement of it has to get better. So, but 7 and 8, definitely people were highly in favor of uniforms for those children. 9 through 12, it wasn't so much the initial survey that we did, and this went out to everyone. So kids could do it, parents can do it, and the staff was highly in favor of uniforms 7 through 12. But 7 and 8 more then, because they had the same question. 7 and 8 was definitely popular across both surveys.
To the point of the staff, with all the training that we're requesting of them, the foundational pieces Alicia shared with us over the last few months, and that's exciting stuff. It seems to me that if we were to do something like uniforms, that those two phenomena mesh, they come together. There's a synergy that gets built by doing this simultaneously. Teachers, they're doing what they're doing, and they see the board and everybody else doing what they'd like to see. I think it's a golden opportunity to support all of those efforts by doing them together.
I mean, I like uniform. I like uniforms. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. K through 8. I think when you get to 9 through 12, I think you can structure what the dress code is. But again, it comes down to being, and Paige's favorite word here, enforced with fidelity to every student, right? We are training them to be adults, right? And work doesn't necessarily tell you what to wear. It gives you guidelines what to wear, right? So let them make some adult decisions as to what fits into those guidelines, but give them some freedom to be creative in what they want to wear, right? So I think, if you want to ratchet it down a little bit, that's fine, but I think you have to leave them some creativity and enforce it.
To everyone.
I'm going to go with everyone, yes.
Well, that will be a part of us making sure it's enforced correctly, uniformly with everyone, not just certain students.
And I would say faculty and staff.
Well, my response to that would be it's easier to enforce uniform policy. I think, Ms. Lynch, you stated that at the one meeting in June. And if you have kids dressed the same, I think that gives them the opportunity to express themselves in a different way. And that's more important than what you wear. It's how you're communicating and talking and seeing people. You're seeing beyond the clothes then. And that ties in too with the cell phone policy that we'll discuss next. So I really don't, I'm not too concerned about the self-expression as far as clothes go. That's all I'll say on that for now.
Anybody else have anything?
I mean, I like the policy all the way up through 7th and 8th grade, especially with the 7th and 8th graders being around the high school building, because it definitely differentiates the underclassmen, the 7th and 8th grade from everybody else, that these are not high schoolers. So I like that barrier. It definitely keeps older classmen from mingling with some of the younger classmen just because the presence of the uniform, like everyone notice that they're younger. 9 through 12, I'm having trouble supporting that when, some people how they express themselves is through clothing, hair color, whatever. You know, I think to mute that to some students who may not be vocal could be troubling at times. You know, some people, I don't think it's our job to say how somebody should express themselves and push somebody just have an expression that's verbal. I think that you can just have a yellow ribbon and you can walk through, and that's an expression of what's going on. So there's countless ways that through just dresses itself that somebody can express themselves. And with that, I also feel like we shouldn't take that away from students. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else?
I'd
care
like
weigh
to
in?
add that if we have our kids dressing similarly, it diminishes the idea that, you know, these kids are from this town, these kids are from this town. I think it would help to that end and maintain more of an orderly environment. I mean, the uniforms in traditional public high schools are on the increase in America, and it's starting to accelerate. In Washington, D.C., 80% of public high schools, both traditional and charter, are now in uniforms. I think the time is right to do it now, so I appreciate your guys' feedback and consideration on that.
Anyone else have anything to add on the uniform question? Okay. All right. I think that concludes that discussion.
So, second point is cell phones. We have a cell phone policy, and as Alicia mentioned before, it's pretty good, but the implementation of it is where it fails. And I think with phones, we'd all be in agreement that it's too much. And as a society, it's too much. And our kids walking through the hallways with earbuds in, texting one another, texting while they're in class. My daughter was in high school from 12 to 15, and she'd text me any time of the day. Or I'd forget and text her at 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning. I get a response like that. So that wasn't just her. Our 7th graders, they have phones that are left at their homeroom. They're secure. They pick them up final period of the day. One of our teachers suggested an item called the Yonder Pouch. And you guys have a description of that at your place. The phone is secured in a pouch. It's on the student's person, but they don't access it during class. So there's no distractions. My overall point to the former, this, and the foul language is we need to reduce distractions in our building. Kids are there to learn. The more clear and concise we are with our policies, the better off our administration has in enforcing what we have. I look at our phone policy. It's 2 or 3 points in our student handbook. I mean, scattered in 3 different places. Our uniform policy, or dress code, is X number of, I forget how many bullet points, and I look at our competition, and their bullet points are a half a dozen. I mean, it's clear, it's easy to see, and that's where we need to get. On the phones, I think by us limiting the kids' screen time, it'll help their interpersonal skills, and that's very important. What greater service can we do to our kids that they graduate and they have a better chance of communicating with whomever they run into, whether they're in college, the service, vo-tech school, wherever they're at, they have that ability to communicate and look somebody in the eye. And the more our kids are going around like this, the less of an advantage we're giving them. So I'm asking us to take a strong look at what we do about cell phones, because it's a problem, not just with us, but across the board. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, he's actually putting in a policy at Apple to reduce screen time for his employees. And these guys, the iPhone hit the market in 2007. And since then, loneliness in the United States is on the increase. I'm not a researcher, but you would think maybe everybody doing this, instead of building a depth of relationship with the people around them, they're going to be better off. So I'm open to any feedback.
Actually, I read a little bit of this article we're doing. Can we bring this Yonder thing and take a look at it? It seemed interesting. I encourage people to read it. It's a little case. It just locks itself, and you unlock it at the end of the day. I know it's a constant battle with my kids to make sure to put the phone down. Then, as well as I know, talking during the school year, I heard about from my children about the prevalent use of phones during school. Anytime there was an incident, that's all everybody, they run to it and they start filming it. Then the one issue that always troubled me, they'd hear about students who would be taking a test and take a picture of it and send it out. And so everybody that class was taking first period, everybody had that test for the rest of the day. So, I mean, that really bothered me. I'm like, what are our students learning or not learning? Because they're not learning anything. So, I agree. We do need to do something. Technology is becoming too pervasive in our lives, and we need to learn how to step back. This would be one way to say, hey, you can have your technology. It'll be available for you. Because I know what the parents will say, yes, I still need to get in touch with my students. No, you can get in touch with them. We have a very efficient system. You call the office. They contact directly to the room. So we have that. It's very easy to get in touch with our students. It's not right then and there, but it might take 30 seconds instead of one just by dialing their actual phone. But we have ways we can take care of it. I agree. This is something we need to be more on the forefront of.
Anyone else have thoughts on the cell phones?
I'm in support of whatever we can do to control student cell phone usage during class time. To add on to some of the things that you mentioned, cyberbullying is a huge problem, and that problem is escalated throughout the course of the school day as well. So that would be if we could do more to limit our students' immediate access to technology and social media especially, then we could hopefully have some sort of impact on that front as well.
I just figure, I totally agree with Mike when it comes to interpersonal conversations, how probably technology has taken us away from that. But I'm a believer in we teach responsible use of cell phones. As Dr. said, we're here to teach kids into adulthood, and I don't see the world limiting technology. There's just going to be more and more of it. It's going to make everything so more efficient in the future, to a point where it's not our decision to take a step back on it. We need to still make sure our kids are connected with the world and going in the same direction that the world is going in. And I don't see where taking a cell phone away is going to help in that situation. I know we have teachers who use the cell phone to do projects or in class to further teaching. When I was in college, we didn't have a cell phone, so I had to go to the library. Our kids literally have a library at their fingertips. They can look up anything, and they can research anything, and they can understand anything, even to the point where they can learn how to do something by just going to YouTube, and they'll follow it. So there's an education aspect of having technology. I just believe in responsible use of it. No offense, Jeff, but we have parents in a meeting where cell phones are going off. We have to just protect. We just have to have a responsible use of it. It's just, that's what it is. So if we have a policy within our high school about earbuds and having your phones out, then I think we don't need to make more policy, but we need to just enforce the policies that we currently have, and then make the students abide by that. If they're not going to listen to, or they're not going to go by the policy, then we will remove the cell phone. Let them know that is if you show it outside of a classroom or in the hallways, then we'll confiscate it. But until we get a consistent practice of how we do our policies, then you're going to still have what you have. So it's about consistency on how we enforce. I think that's the same thing with the dress code. We have a strict dress code. We just, the implementation of it and the enforcement of it really just hasn't been there to the point where you start seeing those changes. But I don't see it taking technology away in a world of which, I mean, there's a new product every day. That's just tough. I mean, I like to be practical about our policies. I don't know if those are practical uses.
Alicia, you wanted to chime in on something?
No, as I, on my cell phone, have the policy up. Sorry, but it is policy 237 for those of you that would want to look at it. It is on board docs. And there are, like what everybody's saying, it does say that the board prohibits the use of personal technology resources, including cell phones. And it says otherwise, unless expressly authorized by a building administrator or teacher. So that's the responsibleness that the principals and the teachers can have. And then further, students will not be permitted to use such devices while participating. And then it goes on. And then it also says students are prohibited from capturing strong and/or transmitting information, including text, audio, video, unless expressed. So I think that's where you get into when there's fights and things of that nature. It's in here that they're not allowed to do that. And so if something does occur, we do have cameras and we can see those students that are violating this piece of the policy as well. So I've always believed that the policy was very strong, and like everyone has said, you just have to echo it, but it's 237.
Yeah, you got to have a copy of it at your place, too. David, responding to what you said, I get the technology and it's ubiquitous, period. But there's balance in life on everything. And I think from the first period to the end of the day, the kids are better off without them. We're giving them a better opportunity to learn. Teachers who use the devices in the classroom for research, we need to find out how much of that is going on and then weigh that against the distraction that device now provides for the student while they're in class. The last 10 minutes is used for research. First 40 minutes of class, the kid's got his cell phone under his textbook and he's texting his buddy about lunch period. Kids are that good with it. So my admonition would be there's balance to everything. And I think right now, even trying to enforce what we have with fidelity is a huge challenge, and I'm trying to make things as easy for our administrators and teachers as possible.
Just think it's worth pointing out as well that, Dr. Woods is in the room, and I'm not going to put him on the spot tonight to answer any of these questions, but these are all things that, I think the board is conveying that this is, as you're planning for the year, these might be some things that should be at the front of your mind for conversation, how these policies will be implemented there at the high school. So,
Dr. Woods actually told me after he got hired, he said, I will enforce whatever the board asked me to enforce.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
solid answer. Last one
yeah.
On the foul language. Ms. Lentz, I don't know what we can do about that, but we're doing our students a huge disservice to think that some language that you might be using with your friends personally and outside doing something in a hallway or a school, we've got to help kids learn there's an appropriate place. So could you speak to that, please?
It's in the code of conduct that unacceptable language is prohibited. I think a couple of things, and fresh off the restorative practices training, when children are using unacceptable language, we have to turn them into teachable moments instead of just, as the kids would say, coming at them sideways and telling them, that type of thing, because sometimes our kids talk and, they're compassionate and passionate, are telling their story, and so we can use it as teachable moments. But, we can also restore relationships because, for me, what I notice is a lot of times the language was negative against either an adult or another student, and I think if, as we go for these community circles and healing circles in terms of restorative practices that can really help us curb the language. And just like with the cell phones responsibility and uniforms or dress code, we have to teach our kids responsible use, of language. But I agree that it is a problem, but we have to be, smart and relevant to the kids in how we approach it.
And how would you do that? Give me some examples through the course of a...
Well, I've been up for a while. For example, I was speaking with a student at Rankin, and he was telling me a story, and he continued to say a word, and I told, help me out, Woods. And he kept using the word, and I told him, I said, you know what, you're offending me and disrespecting me, and then he started to catch himself, and he changed it. So that's what I mean by a teachable moment. Would you please?
I'm going to go back because I see both sides of the argument. One, I do believe technology is a distraction to the educational environment, and two, I believe technology is the moving force on helping our students become better educated in how to use the device. So, as Mr. Graves said, instead of taking the device away and not teaching them how to appropriately use it, we got to teach them how to appropriately use it at the right times. First day of school, I will have a meeting with every class, and we go over expectations for dress, cell phone, etc. I'll lay it out there that I just sat in a 3 hours board meeting, and they want to go to uniforms. So if we have a lot of infractions for uniforms, I will go back to that board meeting and say, we need to go to uniforms. So the student body is going to drive the instruction of the school. The student body and the parents are going to help us move forward. I think the idea of starting with the young kids with the uniforms and then either going from 7-8 to 7-8-9, 7-8-9, 10-11, I'm okay with the progress. But just to come in and slam them on the first day, that's not going to work. There's a lot of change going on. There's going to be a lot of change with the students and the parents understanding my philosophy and what I'm expecting. And as I said in any interview that I spoke of, the expectations are going to be raised for the students, the expectations are going to be raised for the staff, the expectations are going to be raised for the families. So we got to give and take. Doing the survey and getting the information from the parents, that's the best way. Like you said, we are servicing the people. You guys are voted for by the people. I paid through the taxpayers of the people. So we got to service them and give them what they need. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what you want. I'm going to give you a little bit of what you want. I'm going to give a little bit of what they want. And we're going to make this thing work. So keep the discussion going. Stay appropriately. Support us. And we'll go from there. Talking about restorative practices, you got to understand, every kid that acts out, you got special ed laws. You have emotional support diagnosis. You have trauma at home. You just can't say, kid said F you, and then you throw them out of school for 10 days. You got to sit the kid down and look and see what the root cause of the issue was and try to resolve it. Whether that's a one-time conversation with that student, whether that's utilizing restorative justice that we were trained on today. I've been doing restorative justice my whole life. I just didn't know what it was. Right? So getting trained in it, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I can do this. I'm excited. I talked to Mrs. Lynch. Mrs. Lynch has been talking to me every day, morning, noon, night. She's the first person I talk to in the morning, the last person I talk to at night. We're talking all about the school. We're talking all about planning. Even in this meeting here, she's like, I got to give you your binder for tomorrow so you can get prepared. I'm coming in here running. I'm excited. I love all the supports that we have. I met with the principals today. We had a lot of volunteer staff that volunteered in their summertime to come in and try to improve this climate. The work is there. The people are willing and ready. We need your support. We need the parent support. And it's going to get a little bad, but we're going to make progress. So just work with us, okay? Ms. Lynch, did I cover it?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
That's my
Anything else on these questions?
Just continue the discussion then.
Sure thing. Okay. Anything else under reports at this point? Do we have anything else to update? Nothing from Forbes?
I was absent.
Right. And I have nothing from any of mine either. Yeah.
I'll comment on the community relations agenda. As I mentioned before, standing topics will be a charter school strategy and a customer service policy. So just want to make everybody aware that we're going to be discussing that.
Okay. If there's nothing else under reports, we'll move. Sorry? Yeah.
Remember the woman last week? This Saturday from 10 to 1 is uniform drive at Union Baptist Church in Braddock.
Yes, 10 to 1. Reverend Dixon was here last month to talk to us about that. So I know some of us will be there as well to be there. So 10 to 1 uniform exchange. And I think there's actually a movie following, if I understand correctly. At 2 o'clock, they're going to show Wrinkle in Time as well.
For free with free concessions.
There you go. So that's a great movie. So, okay. Unless there's anything else, we'll move to public communication.
I have to leave. I have to go to work.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time?
You're going to let us do this by ourselves? What? You're going to let us do this by ourselves?
Okay. Seeing no one who wishes to speak?
This is for us?
This is for the public to address the board, if there's anyone who wishes to speak. The board welcomes anyone who wants to speak and reminds speakers that they're limited to 2 minutes. Please give your name and address of your residence, and we'll address any questions you have after the meeting concludes.
My name is Stephanie Harris. I'm a Forest Hills resident. I'm a mother of 3 children and attend Woodland Hills School. I just want to quickly touch base on the cell phone policy. I understand it's a big distraction, but it also has saved lives. When there's a mass shooting in schools, there's several ways you can look at that, but it ultimately does have a distraction during school. Also, I think it's important that we, I'm going to speak on behalf of myself. I think that Woodland Hills has a very poor communication between the parents, the principals, and also the teachers. Myself was in a situation with one of my children where the math teacher had put his hands on my child, which I did not contact the media. This just happened within the last 2 months of school. I was irate, I was upset, and I was told to, I had a meeting, but it went well. I felt a little bit better afterwards, but I think you guys have a very big lack of communication. I think maybe parents are stereotyped because of, children coming from all different neighborhoods and different areas, and, if that one parent didn't care that their child wasn't in trouble or didn't get in trouble because of their behavior or whatever, all parents are stereotyped. So I think there's just a big lack of communication. I also think that there needs to be a lot more community work. I had, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, presented something with the athletic director, if I can possibly get the community together. I thought that he had presented that to you guys with an event. Hopefully we can get it for September of this year to bring the community together. This community has lost a lot of children. A lot of them were my kids' friends and kids from my neighborhood. And it's just sad. And we need some type of unity with this community and other communities around the board. I just think it's important for us to gather these people who are grieving and just saddened by what's been happening, especially within the Woodland Hills School District. So I don't know if he had presented that to you, but if not, I'd be more than gladly to, after this, we can possibly speak about that as well. But I think that if we can maybe encourage our teachers just to have a little bit more patience with the children, and also a lot more communications with the parents. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jordan. I live at 60 Prospect Terrace.
Sorry, Jordan, your last name?
Malloy.
Okay, thank you.
60 Prospect Terrace in East Pittsburgh. Firstly, I'd like to address the irony that is this Assistant Superintendent over here, Miss Lentz, discussing restorative justice, seeing as though she was the same person who was there whenever these students were violently attacked in this school, and said nothing about it and tried to protect the people who violently abuse these children. I think that speaks to the general culture here. especially with Mr. Mike Belmont, or however you say his name, talking about uniforms and cell phones and all these kind of policy changes that don't address anything about student needs. You talked about how all of these policy changes would make things easier for students and administration. Well, you talked about how it would make it easier for administration and teachers, but you didn't say anything about how it would make things simpler for students. Uniforms cost a lot of money, and you're not addressing that. Cell phones are needed vitally, as proven with the assault of these students last semester. The only way that it was found out is because students were videotaping it, and then you criminalize those same students and criminalize the students who were abused by your administration. And you don't want to address that at all. You just want to criminalize these students even further. So I don't know why you're talking about any type of policy change if the change doesn't start with you. Are you over there? You all have no accountability for how you're treating these students, and mainly it's black and brown students who come at the detriment to the decisions that you're making. And people who look like you should not be making decisions on behalf of students who are black and brown, because you obviously do not have their best intentions at heart. Uniforms also, I like what you had to say about how they create all these borders towards creativity. I don't see how uniforms, other than like the middle schoolers maybe, would help make the learning environment better improve for the students. Students should be able to express themselves. And additionally, uniforms have been proven to be extremely sexist, especially towards girls who go to school. They're just rudimentary, they're regressive. Everything you're saying is regressive. It's just ridiculous what you're suggesting, and it's extremely offensive, and you haven't even, was the survey put out to the students? Was it put out to the families? Or was it just you all? Because obviously you all shouldn't be making the decisions, because it's all about the teachers and the administration for y'all. It's just ridiculous, and you don't care about these students, obviously. So I hope you get removed from the board, and I hope that you get fired. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Ussery. I live at 15 Fairview Road in Forest Hills. 3 things. 1, uniforms are expensive and an unnecessary burden on kids who don't come from rich families. I grew up really poor. I went to Catholic school, and it broke my parents to have to afford uniforms for me. You have to have 2 sets of clothes for kids, and that's ridiculous. So, think about the kids in your district that already don't have enough. 2, hi, it's not the 1950s anymore. Cell phones are a fact of life, so I think you should enforce your policies. 3, tonight we've heard over and over how there's not a lot of money to do a lot of the things that you want to do, and I understand that your job isn't easy, and I thank you for doing it. But I'd like to suggest one way to help fund some of these crucial programs and to help bridge this deficit by ending the contract with the Churchill and Rankin Police. Rather than working to improve police-community relations or to mentor young minds, the SROs at Woodland Hills have instead created a culture of fear inside of our schools and have helped to perpetuate the racial and socioeconomic divides that plague our district. Kids who act out are kids who are hurting, kids who are traumatized. They need counseling and empathy, not abuse at the hands of authoritarians, police, and criminal records just for acting out in school. I urge you to use the money that would be allocated for SROs for behavioral health services and college and professional development for all students. And please learn from the many mistakes that have been made in our district. Let's build a disciplinary program around restorative practices, one which will create a safe learning environment for all students. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Darnika Reed, 134 Leniki Street, Wilkins Township. So first, I'm going to ask the board again to not renew the contracts for the Churchill and Rankin Police Departments for SROs. I spoke to a few members of the employees of the district, and they actually agree with the plan I have for the district for the Rankin police officer to be utilized as the head of security to oversee the security guards, and also with him being taken out of his uniform and not using his police car and being called Mr. Opposed to being called Officer Pedro. So I haven't heard of any other types of security plans so far. I am not just saying, hey, just remove the police officers from the district. I'm now giving you an option that makes more sense. It's my understanding that that particular police officer does not criminalize the children. That's what we need. So I don't see any reason to not implement that plan. Also, I think it would be helpful for the district to have listening sessions, and this is where you can go door to door and speak to families. Have more community forums, but I think it's more important for you to go out and speak to these families so that you can find out, one, why they are going to charter schools, why they choose charter schools opposed to the district, and also so you can find out more about what's happening in your district. These families, they're not going to come to these forums all the time. And also, as far as the no foul language policy, absolutely not. No. That one, there's a couple of reasons why we should not have it. One, we've seen misconduct by educators in the past in this district that is easily going to be utilized by them. That is going to be used too, because Lord knows what we're going to do with it. We may use it for suspensions. That's going to affect more the black and brown children with disabilities. No, that's just, you're just begging for a class action lawsuit when you do that, and I will be the person who organizes for it. So I'm just telling you right now, I'll do it. So let us not go there. And also the cell phone policy. Another thing, until you make more cuts to administrators who have, who have let these children down, who have permitted misconduct, I want my son to have his cell phone on him. I have no problem thinking about like what type of, giving suggestions for a cell phone policy. But no, if my child could, that might prevent a child from being hurt in a district. Or they could record. There's too much misconduct by adults for us to take away that little bit of power for the children. So I'm concerned about that as a parent. I think that the district should go along with that security plan. I don't want not one more child should leave this district with a criminal record because of those police officers. We are paying too much money, over $80,000 for Churchill, just Churchill alone, for them to criminalize these children and for them to abuse these children and get away with it. Unacceptable. It's time to get rid of those police officers. We're making good progress. I see, we'll have a new superintendent soon. The principal seems like a good choice. Let's move in the right direction and get rid of these SROs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak?
Hi, my name is Simone Saul, 235 Edgewood Avenue. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of this really, really tough work that you guys are doing. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here because, when it comes down to it, like we need to look, there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of minutia, but, looking out for our kids is just such a huge task. And I don't have children, but I do live in the district, and I also know that Woodland Hills School District has the worst reputation in Pittsburgh, probably. And also, and I think that, just to back up what Ms. Reed said, is that, that gives us an opportunity to be a catalyst for change because we're being watched not just in Pittsburgh but nationally, and so you guys are holding so much power right now, and you have this really great opportunity to say we're not going to criminalize students. We're not going, because the relationship that children of color have with uniformed officers or armed police, is a very different relationship than that of people who are there to protect them. As it's been said, it is that trauma that lives with them when they have that criminal record from such a young age, and it really, it changes their ability to move forward and and so that beautiful tribute with all of the photos of people who are not here. They should be here. Those photos should be representing, their successes and, how they've come out of this district is really successful. So, the best way to start is, allocating those funds towards, making really successful students and, giving them that opportunity to succeed instead of being, plagued by overseers. So, thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, yeah. I apologize. I was remiss in the announcement section to not announce that on Monday evening, the board will have 2 superintendent candidates here in this building to meet the public. It's an open meeting at 7 p.m. We expect it to last 2 hours. So we welcome anyone who wishes to join us for that to be here to meet some prospective candidates for the superintendency. So with that...
Comment, questions?
Yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Belmont, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any objectors? All in favor? All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.